finalinio mūsų šios dienos konferencijos akcento. Please welcome Marko Gligorov iš Zaha Hadid Architects. Ir jo pranešimo tema Inside, Outside.
Thank you for having me. My name is Marko and I come from London. I work with Zaha Hadid Architects and I was hoping of presenting a little opus of our work today, and I hope you enjoy it. To start off, I was thinking about how to do it and what would be this amazing thing that I would say and then everybody would be amazed. And unfortunately I couldn't come up with anything, but luckily for me, there are much smarter and much better people to say something, so let's use that.
We started off as Zaha Hadid Architects 30 years ago, more than 30 years ago. And it was built from that point. We started off with 5 people, maybe went up to 25, till more recently we have 400 people. Well, I mean, obviously I'm the instigator, original instigator of many of the ideas, but with a focus, of course, and it's always is on innovation, and it has always been about innovation, about technology, and about materials, but mostly about ideas. And we focused a lot in the last 30 years to develop an idea. I think that all the odds were against me, in the sense that it was very difficult for women to make it in architecture. It was very difficult for that kind of work to make it in architecture. So it's not just being a woman or a foreigner, it was also the work itself was quite, people could not imagine it would ever be happening. So I think that to achieve maybe a fragment of what we would try to achieve was quite a feat, it was quite something. So I'm very proud that we managed to do that.
Thank you for that. Just like Dame Zaha said, the studio was founded in 1979, so that's almost 40 years ago, I think, this year. And what was briefly shown in the video and what is important to mention is that she was, in 2014, she won the Pritzker Prize Award for her contribution in the architecture, and also the Golden Medal from the RABA in 2016. Being one of the rare, women to achieve such an award, I think that is worth mentioning. Now, our office still continues to exist and thrives, and even though we started as a small office in Clerkenwell, London, we kind of expanded, and over the 40 years, you can see now that we have offices across the globe, and then the latest one being the one in Mexico City as well, and then with projects spanning the world itself as well. But of course now, there's a lot more to it than just that. You can see our kind of structure of our office with our principal Patrick being kind of leading the way forward. But of course, a great list of people who used to work with Zaha from the beginning and who learned from her, and who are still continuing to kind of develop that. She mentioned we started from like 5 and then went into the 25, but then now we're 440, 450 staff with 50 nationalities, 45 languages spoken between us, and that passion for innovation and research is still there, and it's still going. In order to kind of showcase and make this presentation a little bit more interesting, from what I assume, I was kind of showing it to the colleagues and the fellow designers as well. Instead of just showing the kind of end images of products and what they are, I thought it might be interesting to showcase the process through which we go through for each project, and to just take a small sample of our work, the 2 projects that I worked on, and then kind of show you what is the process, how we go from the concept stage and how we go into the further development of that, and then through mock-ups and getting to the installed version of it. The first project is the Morpheus Hotel in Macau in China. The City of Dreams is a huge complex of casinos and very high-end hotels. and we were hoping kind of to contribute to that. It is a 40-story building with a footprint of approximately 100 by 50, and with 39 floors, including one level of the basement. I wanted to showcase from the start how the process of creating such an entity begins, and this is kind of the beginning. So we took the parameters of the footprint of the building, the maximum allowed to, and then extended it as much as we could, creating this kind of boxy element. Now taking that and then applying very strong kind of edges to it, we tried to see what would happen and how it would look sculpturally if we started to protrude it, and then applying one hole and then the other, and then how they would look. And you can see the evolution going from left to right. And then what does it mean in time-wise? So you can see how from the 2012, how it evolved all the way to the 2014, which is what we have now. And how, over the years we go through the process of finding that perfect form, and then, through the research and through the work, trying to find what is the key element. And of course, this is the final product of it, but I guess that just showing that wouldn't be really much interesting, so I'm going to proceed in explaining a bit further into detail. So, in regards to the building itself, it consists of several components. So the top left is the overall element of the hotel, and then you can see how the exoskeleton, which has a purpose of kind of carrying the whole load, because what we try to do is create this mixed-use building, which is completely free on the inside from any obstruction, so the possibilities of what can be inside are endless. And then, of course, consisting of that exoskeleton slabs, of course, the facade glazing being behind the exoskeleton, and then the cores being two cores being on the lateral side, kind of dividing the whole building, but also working alongside with the punctures that we mentioned before. In regards to the program, as I mentioned, it's a 39-story building where we have the podium, and then podium consisting of several levels of a course casino, which kind of integrate into the whole City of Dreams aspect. Macau, of course, being one of the meccas for that kind of activity, and of course having 780 rooms approximately, alongside with the skytop that has the larger accommodations such as the villas, but also the swimming pool, the open swimming pool as well. In order to show it, I was hoping on kind of showcasing this as well, because I think that this might be more interesting than rather showing the clear image, right? It's just how it goes to what is it and how do you get, this is the front view of the project and the design process. But before showing that, I want to guide you through the hotel in the sense of a guest. And I think that's a rare opportunity for somebody to kind of give you the hotel experience without actually going there. You arrive at the hotel via the porte cochere, which is kind of hidden behind this the exoskeleton, where you're greeted by the staff of the hotel and then taken into the lobby. This is the lobby of the hotel, where, as I said, so you have the entrances on top and bottom, where on the lateral side you have the vertical communication in the sense of panoramic lifts. Now I wanted to, and you can see on the top, we have the huge ceiling where the contents on the left and right are kind of focused on inwards. I'm very proud of this because we can show this, and this is a CGI image that we created previously, and then I can showcase you the actual photo of the space inside, which is identical, of course, with the evolution of the finishes that came all the way with the development of the design. A couple more images just to showcase. This is the view from the bottom all the way to the top. Just how it looks and what it does, and of course, in regards to the content of the lobby. Of course, as I said, so as a hotel, you must have a reception area, right? There's nothing new about it, but that's on the left and the right-hand side. We have a kind of day cafe, something that is becoming very popular in Asia as well. Is the day restaurant that has only the sweets or only dessert throughout all the courses throughout the day. And this is our try, and then you can see behind, you see the panoramic lifts kind of working together, which were completely custom designed for the project. Now, how we went through the process of designing it. Now, when you approach a problematics of designing a space that is having such a high ceiling, you start to lose the tangibility of that human scale, right? So if you populate it with chairs, you will never achieve that kind of sense of, accessibility to the human scale. So in order to do that, what we did is we figured out a way to assemble a structure that would be taking in the motifs, already existing motifs of the building, and then applying them to create this structure, which will then kind of give us a sort of a area for that cafe to exist. A very simple, not that simple, but appearing very simple structure, being also very transparent and light as well. Now, the way that was designed was, it is consisting of a double layer of flat aluminum pieces, which can be CNC cut from a flat aluminum sheet and then assembled in a sheet packaging and kind of brought to the site and assembled as well. They consist of two layers: the outer layer and the inner layer of the structure itself. What that means in the sense of manufacturing is that the panels are cut, as I said, in CNC, and then the flat strips are bent in the corners to achieve the desired radius depending on the location, right? So then what you get is the 3 L profiles that you assemble, and then getting that cell that you can see in the third image. That cell then assembled with the other ones becomes that kind of macro panel, and then part of that macro panel becomes this part of the structure, right? And then how it looks during the first testing that we did. You can see the manufacturing or the bending happening on the left, and then applied with the finish assembled in the middle image. You can see the amount of precision that the manufacturing was done, which is just incredible. And then how it looks assembled on the right in one of the visits that were done to the Chinese manufacturers. Other than that, I wanted to show you a very short video of an already done space, and this is the ride in the elevator, in the panoramic elevator. Just how the space looks and what it does. You can see the structure. It's not really kind of covering anything, but it's usually just giving that notion of existence and belonging almost. And then as you continue up with the elevator, you're going past the first belly, as we call it, and the interior part of it, and then getting to the top levels where and I'll show you the restaurant on the 21st level as well, and then getting to the top level where the villas or the larger accommodation and the pool, the swimming pool is as well. This is a kind of unique view, I think, for the hotel, considering that it has that notion of going inside, but also outside, so you don't really know where you are. I think that's a great, very unique experience that you get. I mentioned the hotel and the other levels as well. This is the restaurant at the 21st level, and here in this diagrammatic sketch, you can see how it exists between the structure, the exoskeleton, and the content of the restaurant as well. And this is the location. You can see on the left the before, and then on the right the kind of exterior part or the after of how it looks. What does it mean? So the way we thought about it is that we had this open space of the 21st level where we were thinking of applying again what we needed is a restaurant, right? So in order not to just populate it with tables, we inputted a couple of parameters. So we juxtaposed the privacy that the restaurant requires, or the diners require from being in a higher end restaurant, but also of the higher traffic or the expected traffic of the rest of the guests that were walking around it and just trying to see it, right? So what we came up with was a parametric approach to the whole story where the expected traffic of the guests was higher, the individual elements would close, and then the cocoon would be actually stopping the visibility through it, while where we were expecting the smaller amount of passengers or guests, the cocoon would open up, and then the people, kind of the guests, diners would actually see through it and having this lighter sense of the whole space. And then on the right you can see how it looks in the different elevations in the side views of it as well. In the end, this is the render image of how we envisioned it. So there's 7 cocoons around, and then with custom designed bar and stations as well. Of course, what is the most interesting for me as well is the mock-up again, where on the left side you can see how the structure of the whole thing is integrated into and concealed within the kind of letter bounding of, if I can, yeah, so the kind of structure, and then we have the letter bound kind of concealed element being that going all around, and then of course the metal elements carrying the individual leaves that would shift in their fixing position depending on what was the plan or whether we would like to close it or not. And then, of course, testing whether the finish is correct, of course, so the desired of it. And this is how it looks built. Very similar to the render with the. We were quite happy with the effect of it. And of course, I wanted to kind of show the to end the presentation of the project, showcasing the images during the construction, and then this particular one is showing the before and after of the same space. This is during the construction phase. We can see how it's still not done, and then the actual finished space with being used as well. The facade being developed, and how I think this is a beautiful image depicting how we have the installed part of the facade being almost in half, and then this one still being in the process. Now, you know, don't get me wrong. There's a whole presentation of at least 2 hours just being on the facade, and you know, I think that what I was trying to do is just try to kind of cover the whole thing very briefly for the time that we have. You see the interiors as well, and it was, while it was still being done, you know, the structure on its own was already existing and just being incredible, and I hope you agree. So that was Morpheus, and then for a second project is something that is still being built. Another project that is very dear to me is of course a bit different, and I think that's important to showcase rather than having another hospitality project. What it shows is to show the infrastructure project. This is a metro station in Riyadh in Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia has been for almost a decade now trying to having this incredible, one of the largest building sites in the world, where they are creating a public transport from basically zero, and then being 6 metro lines being built at the same time. And what we were lucky to do is to have one of the kind of key stations to be designed by us. So we have won that in 2012 in a competition, and then we were lucky as well to kind of see through it and further develop it and design it, and also participate in the construction phase of the project as well. The location of the station is in the King Abdullah Financial District in Riyadh, which is a new financial district whose master plan was designed by Henning Larsen Architects, which, along with the many star architects like Norma Posture or OMA, etc., have buildings inside. Just an incredible space that is, once done, it is going to be a masterpiece, and we were lucky to participate in that as well. Now, in regards to the inspiration for this particular project, usually we, a designer, not just us, seeks inspiration in multiple, ways and many places. And sometimes, you have to go far and you have to really struggle, and sometimes it's not that obvious. But in some ways, if you look at the surroundings and just look at what you are doing and where it is, you just might be lucky, and I think that we were in this case. In the sense that, lucky in the sense that you need to recognize the qualities that might not be obvious in, one might consider a desert to be a harsh place where even during the day you're too hot or during the night you're too cold. So it's not an environment for somebody to really thrive in, but of course recognizing beauty in such a harsh environment is the key. Of course, our reinterpretation of it is probably different than somebody else's, but I guess that's what makes us different. Then that makes us us unique and different than anybody else. And then, what does it mean to take in this natural phenomenon that happens with strong winds and the sand dunes forming this incredible shape, and then reinterpreting that in the sense of what architecture is? And then applying it to the form, right? And then getting shapes that almost resemble something that you might want to do, and then trying to figure out whether that can be improved and how. But then, what would that mean, what does it mean in the sense of geometry, right? We can talk about form, but we have to create something a bit more tangible. So if we apply, you've seen, as I mentioned, there are 6 lines, and then out of those 6 lines, 3 metro lines are in our building. And then if you apply those train tracks as a sort of abstract line, and then once you add on top of that the kind of building requirements, the volumetrics, you maximize the size and the site that you have. And then, of course, apply additional parameters in the sense of visitors, in the sense of human scale, and of course, opening up towards the daylight. What you get is a form that kind of logically works in your favor. Now, what does it mean as I said, in intangibles, in the structural sense of? I hope that you can recognize the lines that I was showcasing. Now, those lines turn into a structure, and this is in the red is the longitudinal structure as a sort of a main structure of the envelope of the facade. And then once applied with the additional cross structural elements of steel, and then with the additional kind of diagonal grid of the eyes, as we call them, of the base, you will get the kind of full structure of the facade. Once the kind of you weather seal it with the elements of the facade, you get this kind of form, and I think it's once explained, it's rather obvious. Now, what does it mean to work on a project such as the KFD and the metro station? As I mentioned, it is, I think still is, one of the largest construction sites in the world, and what that means is that the amount of people involved in the project is just incredible, and then trying to find a way to kind of manage all that work that is being done, and then in the time sense, but also in the sense of collaboration. We worked. We were contracted to work in a BIM, or Building Information Management technology. In this particular case, it was Revit. And you can see here, this is the image that was taken out from Revit, where the facade of the building kind of works, and you can see the red structure that I was showing you before, but also you can see all the mechanical and other equipment that is required, along with the cables as well, and cable trays. So the level of information that goes into such a project is just incredible, and then trying to manage all of that and how all that works without clashing into each other, because again, you know, there's engineers who are working on our station which are based in Bangkok, and then we are based in London, and another set of engineers in Germany, so us trying to all work all together and trying to find a way to do it is just impossible without software like that. And this, I just want to showcase you a couple of more images from the Red model itself, and just how well coordinated it was, and how incredible amount of work went into it by not just by us, but also by all the consultants as well, and then where we are hoping to be and how we're hoping to build this. This is a longitudinal section, as you can see, and then the cross section, showcasing, as I said before, you know, even the, you know, all the piping and everything, all the ducts as well, and then how that works, and then with the, you know, methods of clash detection and all the other technologies, which I'm sure you know of, we were managing to kind of to find a way to design and create a building that can be built easily and efficiently. I told a story about the facade, and I briefly mentioned the eyes as well, so I'm gonna go a little bit into that before switching to the interior part. I'm doing well at the time. The facade itself, as you can see here on the right, this is the outer facade, the atmospheric kind of sealed elements of the concrete. So we have the fritted glass on top, we have the UHPC facade, the rain screen, the ultra high performance concrete, but then on the interior part of it, there's the facade as well. So because it's basically a shell built around the train tracks, which are kind of standing, and then the communication being on the inside, almost free of the facade itself. And then GRG facade being on the inside, the glass reinforced gypsum. But I want to talk to you about something else, and that is the way that we have tried to think about how such a harsh environment of sun and incredible heat, but also incredible cold as well, can be controlled in the most natural way. Well, not most natural way, but in a most efficient way, you might say. Now, this is the image showcasing all the structures I've shown before, with the diagrade, as we call it, or the diagonal grade of the windows. And then this is it. So these are approximately 20 or 21 bay that we have, which is populated by, as you can see here, there's the exterior part of the diagram and the interior part. And what does that mean? I'll show you now. This was inspired by, Islamic vernacular, Islamic architecture that has, for centuries tried and tested to find a way to control the harsh sun and the strong temperatures, while the result of such a try was actually a beautiful effect that you would get, as you can see it on the left-hand side. And then what we were trying to do is taking in all that information and research done over the centuries, and then trying to reinterpret that into a more contemporary solution. And the result is basically that, where we have the outer element, which is created in the ultra high performance concrete, where we have the glass piece, and then of course the composite panel in between of them, and then of course on the interior part we have the glass reinforced gypsum, which together work as a sort of a barrier between the sun on the outside and the calm interiors on the inside that we're trying to achieve. And you can see it clearer here in the larger image, that outer shell, that glass, and then of course that inner part. And then here you can see here it kind of exploded and how it looks. Now, due to the complexity of the shape itself, the hand manufacturing and especially because of the material that was chosen and the sheer size of each individual element, the kind of machine approach to the manufacturing was required. And this was taken as a sort of a photo in one of the visits to the manufacturer, where they were kind of using an 8-axis hand to create the mill, to mill the actual mold that was used to create the individual diagrammed elements. In the sense that you can see it here. So this was one of the first tests that were done to check the possibilities of the size, but also the finish of it and the application of the sealer, or maybe whether it is required or not. How does it look? But also the precision that you get while using the manufacturing of at such a high level and standard. And of course, later on, once we went through a couple of iterations, this was one of the official mock-ups done for the diagram, but also for the full elements of the concrete elements of the facade as well. And this is just a small portion. If you remember, the whole building is consisting of hundreds and hundreds of these. You can see here how we tried to test what is the approximate coloring, color matching of the facade element, and then the bottom ones being how they should look and whether they should be closed or not, etc. Of course, testing of the uplight and the way that we thought about how individual elements should be lit and what is the color temperature of it. How does the design, how does the detail work? So, of course, as I said, with the Morpheus Hotel, there can be one single presentation a day long about how this was developed and with all the details inside and with all the Revit information and everything else. However, I wanted to take on the way that I guide you through the hotel Morpheus and then how we went through it and then being from the user side and then seeing how that is done. This is a bit of a more human scale render that was done. So this is one of the main entrances into the station. And then just underneath the sky bridge, which are connecting to the other parts of the financial district as well. And then once you go inside, I thought about whether I should kind of go through the images of the renders that we have and the photos, but I thought that it might be interesting to kind of showcase you, hey, this is the design, and then what might be done. So this is the main kind of entrance atrium where you are able to come in, actually buy a ticket, and then go through with your ticket. Sorry about that. Go through with your ticket onwards with your journey. Depending on what your destination is. And this is another image of that same space, but kind of looking more through the main kind of atrium outside. And then this is the panorama that our site team did, showcasing how the G4G panels are getting installed and how that will look. I'll move on further with the design elements. So for anybody who has ever visited any Middle East kind of public buildings, such as airports or any other infrastructural place, but I think that these are now getting installed in not only Middle East or GCC area. The prayer room is almost a must, and what we did in the design assess was we used the directionality towards the Mecca, which is required by the design itself. And then getting this triangulated shape that we broke off in order to achieve this cocoon-like calm space that people can get away from and then do what they came in to do. And this is the installed on-site photo, with still missing a couple of elements at the bottom, being the metal pieces that will come in later. But you can see how the shape of it is almost matching identically to the design. As you purchase a ticket and kind of go through the gates, this is one of the main communication towards the trains and then towards the upper level where the trains are. I wanted to showcase it as it is one of the highest the rooms with the highest ceiling in the station, but also because it is in my opinion, very humble opinion, the prettiest of them all, and it is showcasing the high quality of the engineering that went into kind of taking care of the loads from the higher levels, and then with the raking columns bringing them down, and then how we approached in addressing such an imposing structure and then dressing it into GFRG panels. And then to show you that, this is one of the submission drawings that we did for this particular location. As you can see how it is looking, and then of course that being done on the site, and you can see what I wanted to showcase is the partially installed inclined column, raking column. I apologize, and then my hand, and then holding the nut actually on the right hand side, just showing the size of the structure, and then what it takes to kind of install it and then screw it on, right? And then later on, and then this is a bit more assembled column, and then on the right hand side, what is important is that this is further developed, further assembled on site, but you can see the secondary structure being assembled as well, where the GFRG panels will later come on. And this is it. This is the installed column of the GFRG panel. And then this again, you can see how big and tall the space is, and then how it's starting to take shape and resemble what I've shown you in the render as well. I wanted to showcase you a journey a bit further down the traveling, and that's it. This is the so-called unpaid area, as we call it, or the area on the top, on the higher levels, where you're still not going through the gates of actually going into the trains. And this is a high level, which is but very close to the facade as well. And you can see this diagram that I talked about just a minute ago, and how big it is, and how close it will be to the kind of, humans, and how close it will be to the public. And you can see the photo of the installed structural elements of the facade. So this is the steel that is complete and on site for a while now, and the view that is approximately a view from where the render is. And then this is the so-called pay area that I say. So this is a moment where you're actually waiting for your train. This is the platform for the lines 4 and 6. What we try to do is, what we're very proud of, is that the level of development of the project was very high, considering that the project was infrastructure project, and the requirement for such a project is incredible, where the amount of equipment and from CCTV cameras to the light to everything else is just enormous, and then coordinating all that was just something that we're very proud of. I might freely say that there is not a particular element that we don't know where it was and what it is and how it went and what is the detail about it. You can see here, this is the platform level, so from here to left to right, and then in between, what we thought about is, because we, so to speak, we don't have any walls or ceilings at all to kind of integrate the AC as well. So what we did is we tried to use the floor. So what this kind of metal element becomes is, besides being the bench and then the accessible part of it, it is also serving as a plenum. So the cool air would come in from the bottom, and it will kind of exit through the perforated elements here on the side as well, while also maintaining all the lights and all the equipment that I mentioned before. So total integration almost. Of elements, even though you might think you don't have where to put them. And then, of course, what I was happy to see is a test of that in the mock-up, and you can see how the people who manufactured it are actually using it as a bench, and then you can see the scale of it. Even though once they show it back, it doesn't look really that big, but it is actually quite long and significant. And of course, this is one of the first tests that we did, the gold being too gold, and then us making an argument about whether that is the correct finish or not. And then, of course, we went through so many iterations that I'm still not sure where we are. This is the concourse level, so we're going a level above. So as I said, the lines of Metro 4 and 6 are below, and those are trains, one of them taking you to the airport, the other one doing something else. But the main communication, if you want to go back to the city, is using line 1. I hope I'm right. Anyway, the main communication is done through the concourse level. What we call is a level of communication or corridor that is done above that, because the narrow site that we had, what we had to do, instead of putting it between the tracks itself, we had to raise it above. And then that is this concourse level, where you are accessing the higher levels of lower levels through the bridges on the lateral side along the whole concourse. And then this is how it looks on in the recent photo from the site that we took. And you can see again, as I mentioned, secondary structure being installed and being ready to carry the G4G panels as soon as they're ready. This is another image that I wanted to show, as the feature ceiling is quite important to us. As the feature ceiling is quite important to us, and I wanted to showcase you how it was done and how it was built. This was fully accessible ceiling, which means that you can demount it and access whatever you need in the back. And then again, you know, for the fellow designers, I think it's important to see how many iterations of the finish we go through and what does it mean to find the correct one. And of course, the top level being the line 1 platform, and how it looks now built almost with the steel structure kind of imposing itself on us. Again, showing you an exterior image because I wanted to show you one of the night renders that we did, and then again I wanted to show you what it means now that it's installed and now that it is going to be ready soon, and we hope sooner the better. And just a couple more images to wrap up the story from the site itself, and I think these are really interesting and really good to show what was the process and how it was all going through, and then how you can see how the concrete was actually at the lower levels, and then from the masonry level on up, it was all done in the steel. The tracks that I mentioned for the lines 4 and 6, and then of course the top level guiding the line 1 trains into the building, and then how it looks in a more recent photo. You can see here now we're standing. The image was taken, but the photographer is standing on the line 1 platform while the line 4 and 6 tracks are going inside the building next to it. This was done at the end of the October, and of course this is what the train sees once it's kind of leading his way into the building. To wrap up. When I started, just like at the beginning, when I started thinking what should be the message that the presentation should convey, and why is it called Inside and the Outside, I was very lucky to be able to work in one of the best practices in the world, and to come in and showcase, you know, my very humble contribution to it, and you know, being able to work next to the incredible amounts of people that are capable of creating almost, you know, any design possible, it is very humbling. What I'm basically trying to say is that if we, as designers, kind of start working on ourselves, the kind of, you know, that design will follow. And what I mean by that is, if we work on our inside, the outside will come as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Do we have questions? Of course we have, but we are also too humble to ask.
I'm sure.
Let me
yeah,
answer as always. Yeah, well, my question would be, or I would like to ask you to tell the audience a little bit about yourself, because I think everyone is interested on your path that led you to work for this office. Well, and how did you come up?
Well, yes, thank you for asking that, but I really try to avoid sort of talking about me as I'm not, you know, first, you know, if we speak about the project that we talk about and then the way that we do it, there's no I in that story, and then, you know, as I've shown in the couple of first photos that you've seen, the structure of the office is just incredible, with people who have done the work they do for so long, and they have this incredible amount of experience that, you know, I would rather avoid actually telling any story about me, as I'm totally irrelevant in this, and I truly humbly mean it. Short, I'm an interior designer, part of Zaha Hadid Architects, and, you know, being very, very happy where I am and what we do, and just, you know, trying to work my to give my contribution to this incredible project. And I think that just should be enough for that in that sense.
Sure, sure. We also have seen a lot of kind of bespoke solutions for each of the projects that you showed us, and it kind of means that you have to develop solutions that are probably one-off. Do you think they should be somehow replicated somewhere so they don't get lost and after such a tremendous amount of work?
Yes. No. Well, the problem is that once the way I was telling about the story is that we try to input all the parameters inside, and then once you start doing it, you come up with this, as you said, custom solutions that are very unique to the particular project that they are. Usually, our office, I think, has an agreement with the manufacturers to develop something that is particularly for the project, but also to find a way to, in a very clever way, continue that line of products, whatever they are. We work with many manufacturers of either, even for the carpets, which are for the hotel, very important. The manufacturers work with us, and then we design that particular piece, but then continuing on that similar story, we create together with them a line that they would continue then to use somewhere else, and then for a possibility for somebody else to use. It is very hard to maybe I didn't showcase the elements that are a bit simpler, but I thought that it might be using the time that I had and kind of showing the best of the products that we have.
Of course. Zaha Hadid Architects, they have this office kind of has very distinctive style, or not style, maybe how would you put it, but the objects designed by Zaha Hadid offices are very recognizable all over the world. I don't know if you are in a position to discuss how it is possible to maintain the same feeling of recognizability throughout such a large office that you are working in, and do you all, well, that's kind of a provocative question, always share this development of this style, which could be compared to historical styles maybe already, because there are so many iterations of it throughout the world?
Yeah, I understand what you're asking. As I've shown, there are people in the office that work with Zaha, ever since the beginning. So there's people, literally the first employee of Zaha's sister working in the office, being our director, and the understanding that DNA and everything that she taught them is continuing. Of course, we do share the projects on every level in the office, and I wouldn't say they're being judged, but they're being critically approached in order to confirm that the quality of the work still continues. And of course, there's the senior leadership of each individual project, which makes sure that and then of course those being again on those quality levels. But we do there's that DNA in the office that exists, and that that people adore, as we would like to say, and then accepting it is not a problem. It's about trying to find your way of expanding that big kind of